Good evening and welcome to Anime-Zing Radio here on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. I'm your host, Doug Engler. Joining me, as always, in the co-host seats are our good friends, Angela Rose.
Hello.
And, of course, Darren Starling.
Who's not dead?
He is not dead yet. Give it time. And we want to let everybody know Anime-Zing Radio is brought to you tonight by Home Circle Media for the latest and greatest in anime gear, everything from pens, pencils, stationery, and officially licensed art books. Be sure to check out homecirclemedia.com today or look for them at an upcoming convention near you. We're also brought to you tonight by Casey Fox for all of your artwork, cosplay, and commission needs. Be sure to check out Casey Fox, that's KAYCIFOXX, on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Once again, welcome to Anime-Zing Radio. We are really excited. We've got a very talented cosplayer who's joining us tonight. She appeared on the show with us when we were live at PoochieCon in at the Camelback Resort in Pennsylvania back in May. She won the Judge's Choice Award there, which we wanted to give her and another one of the winners an opportunity to join us live for our 1-hour special from PoochieCon. We did a quick interview with her last weekend at CCE. That footage is still being edited and will be uploaded hopefully within the next week or two. Please welcome Ari Lynn to the show.
Hi.
Woo!
Thanks for having me.
And we're so happy that you were able to join us tonight. It was great to see you at CCE last weekend, and ironically, we've seen you twice, and both were Pennsylvania conventions.
Yeah, they're very close in proximity to me, so I figured I'd go try them out.
And for our listeners out there and viewers out there who may not know who you are, tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name is Ariel. I'm a 20-year-old cosplayer, soon to be 21 next month. And I pretty well hand make my cosplays. I started with 2 cosplays from a webtoon called Fairy Ben. I'm not plugging it, I promise. But I handmade those, and now I'm working on some stuff for Twisted Wonderland that I'm also handmaking. I wish I had it on me. I'm making Volshernheit right now as we speak. I also do lots of mini ear work, and I make Ita bags and all that kind of stuff. Everything is handmade. I don't own a machine because I personally don't like sewing machines. But yeah, I do a lot of that stuff, and yeah, I like to cosplay a lot from Disney too.
And we first got to meet you at PoochieCon back in Pennsylvania back in May. And you had a couple of different outfits that we saw you in throughout the weekend. Before the masquerade, we got your photo as you came by our table. And it was fun to get to talk to you. It's fun to go to new conventions where we don't branch out a lot outside of the New England area before this year. And so being able to go to a couple of conventions in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, add some new states to our repertoire of cons that we are attending now, it's kind of neat to get to meet new people like yourself. And so I want to thank you for coming on tonight. Thank you for hanging out and chatting with us a little bit at CCE last weekend. It was a lot of fun to see you and your mom there. And what has it been like for you to be able to go to these cons and compete in the masquerades?
Well, I actually just started competing this past May, so it's a new learning experience for me. I do enjoy it. But it's like, I don't know how to explain it really, because you meet so many different people in these masquerades and you never know how to feel about it, I guess. For me, I like it. It's always a positive experience, especially with Colossal Con East. I didn't expect them to be like, oh, hey, I like your cosplay. I don't know who you're cosplaying, but you look so cool. You look great. That kind of thing. So for me, I like to do the masquerades, and I do look forward to doing more next year, because I actually already have some plans for CCE already.
And with... You're saying that you just started this year. What was it like to enter into the PoochieCon masquerade? And that was kind of small, as a lot of masquerades go. But to be able to be a Judge's Choice Award winner in your first time going out there, what was that like for you?
Stressful at first. Because I was making the cosplay with somebody, and it was stressful, but we got through it. At the end, I did really like it, and I definitely probably would compete again if I go back to the con. Not fully certain yet, because I have my schedule already and don't know. But I am looking forward to potentially going back. And for me, doing that masquerade was very new, a new learning experience. I enjoyed it. And getting a judge's award, especially by somebody that I actually am really good friends with now, it was really an eye-opening experience. And especially from Tori Hime Cosplay, I've looked up to her work for a while, so getting that from her, it was like, wow, this is really cool. I'm very honored that you choose me, especially with the fact that I did all of the patterning and everything for the outfit. So, and coming up with the idea of making a corset from scratch when I didn't know how to do that. It was very fun, very interesting, stressful, of course, but at the end of the day, it was fun, entertaining. It's just a good experience overall.
And for the people out there who have been toying with the idea of cosplaying or trying out for masquerades and things like that, especially where you're still new to the masquerade scene, what advice would you give them to try to help like calm nerves? Because obviously you're going to be nervous. There's going to be a lot of unknowns, and you never know how other cosplayers are going to partake to your costume. Are they going to like it? Are they going to hate it? Are they going to be judgmental? You just, all those thoughts go through your head. I've been in a masquerade myself, so I have an understanding. I think I've been in one, and we were nowhere near being chosen for anything. But what advice would you give to up and coming cosplayers, or even people who want to try a masquerade for the first time?
Do a character that you really love. Definitely do a character that you really love. Like for me, I talk a lot about him more on my Instagram, but Snow, I really, really love him. So I decided, hey, I'm going to make 2 of his outfits in one go, not even like a month between each other. So definitely plan the costume that you're going to do. Make sure you give enough time for yourself. For me, I was rushing through my cosplay for CCE because I didn't know we had to do a video submission. Because I knew last year with COVID that you needed to, but this year I didn't know they were going to do that, reinstate that again. So I rushed through the cosplay, but always make sure that it's going to be a character that you really like and you see yourself cosplaying more and more in the future. Because if you put all this time and effort into a costume that, hey, I'm only going to compete with it once and then not wear it again, that I don't recommend. And always just have fun with it. Keep it lighthearted, but make sure you have a plan and everything at the same time. But at the end of the day, have fun and plan out. And yeah, make sure it's a character you really like. That's really all I could say.
Because at the end of the day, if you're not having fun, what's the point?
Exactly.
Pretty much. And like I said, I've cosplayed. Angela's cosplayed. Darren, I think, is the only one who hasn't cosplayed yet, but we're trying to figure out outfits for him. At some point. At some point, we'll get him out to. At some point, we'll get him out of North Carolina and come up to a con, and we'll just throw him in an outfit. Maybe Ange can put him in one of her old like Sailor Scout uniforms or something.
Oh God. Well, I ended up purging all of my old cosplay stuff during the pandemic because it was time to do a major cleaning and almost nothing fit properly.
So, haha, Doug, you're out of luck.
Well, no, actually, not really. What I would do is take one of my dresses and do some doctoring.
You're evil.
Although, I do have some stuff that I bought in Japan. I also have a anime schoolgirl skirt. We could probably make Darren look like a schoolgirl.
Sorry.
Kidding.
And the perfect one would be Nico.
God damn it, Doug.
That's bad that I know who she is because I don't even play female idol games. I play the male idol games, so.
And Ross in the chat says hi.
Hello, Ross.
Hi, Ross. Good to see you.
Hi.
Thank you for tuning in. Thank you to everybody who's tuning in tonight. Hopefully you're having a wonderful time. Hopefully you had a great weekend. I'm still recovering from being outdoors quite a bit yesterday. Went to a disc golf tournament for the first time. and it was about 2 hours away. But I've been playing disc golf since the late 2000s, and been watching the Pro Tour for about 4 or 5 years. So getting a chance to get out and watch the pros play, get a few autographs, which
Ooh.
a week after Colossal Con East, which is a lot of noise, people all over the place, a lot of high energy, we're out on a disc golf course where it's quiet as the pros are playing, and then you little murmurs as you're walking following behind them, and then it's quiet again. It's really a weird change in energy, but it was still a lot of fun.
Mhm.
And it's kind of neat to see. Ross says, so Darren like Astolfo or maybe Malim. I could see Darren pulling off a Malim.
Isn't Astolfo that guy from Fate Grand Order with pink hair?
Yes.
That's what I thought. I see him a lot. I'm like, wait, that's not a girl.
I have to say, traps.
Yeah.
Come on, Darren, you could pull off Felix.
No.
Oh God, here we go.
I have no clue who you're talking about, but
did you the cat boy looking one from ReZero? You probably know him if you see him.
I've never watched ReZero, so I don't know.
You got a picture real quick, Doug?
Pulling up one right now.
And as with Fate, the $1 million question is, where do you start?
That's why I never watched it.
So that's Felix.
Oh yeah, I don't know who that is. I'm sorry.
But that's A boy.
Oh, whoa, hello.
Yep.
Wow. I mean,
call-
I've been exposed to some anime characters that I've questioned, but wow.
There's a couple more questionable ones than that, but he's one of the more popular ones.
Haru had to come and say her hellos.
Hi, Haru.
Say hi.
So cute.
And on the couch behind me, making his appearance from the distance, is Eins.
What's his name?
Eins.
Eins. Hi, Eins. Oh, he's so cute.
And actually, I'm gonna ask this. With the whole cosplay, did you watch the anime My Dress Up Darling?
Doug has. I haven't.
Get on it.
As a cosplayer, it actually is quite good.
I'll have to watch it because I see it a lot, and I know a lot of my mutuals like it. A lot of my mutuals are trying to get me to watch Spy X Family or Spy by Family, whatever.
Spy Family is also so good.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I want to. Oh, sorry.
Literally the two anime that all three of us agree on.
I think it's the only two.
I'll have to watch them because I haven't watched them yet, but they do actually look interesting for me.
But Dress Up Darling just announced a season 2, and
we are all excited.
I saw it earlier today. I was like, "Oh wow, already cool!"
and it basically does put together. It actually does show. In my opinion, as someone who has cosplayed, it's very accurate with the different types of people who enjoy cosplay, the different what goes into it. And it's just a wicked cute slice of life.
Aww.
It is. And you can see a romance starting in there as well. So slice of life romance anime about, cosplaying. And
those are always the cute ones.
And especially where you like making your outfits, Smile Down the Runway would be another one I would recommend for you. That is more of, and I wasn't going to watch it at first, thinking it was going to be one of those, runway model shows like you saw on TV, America's Last Top Model type competition shows or something, but it was nothing like that. It actually followed a girl aspiring to be a model and a guy aspiring to be a designer.
Ooh.
And the struggles that they go through. So you get to see some of the behind the scenes of, okay, this is what happens at a model show, or this is how designers have to act on the fly when putting on these, runway model shows and showing off things. And it was actually a lot better than I thought. And nobody talks about it. It was really, really good.
Ooh, I'll have to look into it. You'll have to message me again later so I can look it up, but I'll have to look into it for sure.
You're gonna have a list by the end of the show. That's all I'm
Oh,
gonna
I'm
say.
sure I will. So, I'm not opposed to it.
And most of the stuff, like I know Darren and Angela prefer to watch their anime in Japanese with subtitles. I watch both dub and subbed. Sometimes, like most of the shows I'm watching this season are subbed because the dub isn't available yet. As they're coming out dubbed, like Call of the Night is getting an English dub. I think they've dropped the first 2 episodes. Sat down with Leanne and watched that with her because I told her I thought that'd be a show that she liked, and she was hooked on 1 episode. I was hooked on 1 episode. And that's why I
Same
keep
here.
telling Angela that she needs to watch it because I think she would like it because it's different.
God,
It's not an
which
isekai.
wait, which one is this?
Call of the
The
Night,
Call of the Night.
the vampire one.
I'll get.
Ooh. See, I like that
So-
genre, so I'll have to look into
So
that.
that piqued the interest.
No.
Yeah, I like vampire animes.
Actually, a very underrated vampire anime, fairly dark, that I enjoyed was Mars Red.
I've heard of it.
It was good. It got like zero attention here.
Mhm.
If I remember correctly, the ending theme was also done by Hyde.
I'm drawing a blank. Sorry.
Just a very famous J-pop artist.
Mhm.
But no, that was a very interesting vampire anime.
Now, going back to the cosplay world, what interested you in getting involved in cosplay?
More so as a pastime than anything else. I started in high school because one of my best friends, she did cosplay before I did. And it was interesting to see her do something so brand new. And I'm like, oh, what is this that you're doing? Because she'd like talk to me about it in school because we used to go to school together when we were both in school, of course. And she'd be like, oh, Ariel, I cosplayed this one last night. And I'm like, oh, who's that? I don't know who that is, but that's cool. You look really cool. So then she explained to me what cosplay is, and I'm like, oh, wow, this looks fun. So me being the person that I am, I kind of grew up going to Disney, so seeing people in costumes was normal to me. But me being the person I am, I wanted to cosplay Disney characters. So I'm like, okay, how do I do this? How do I get into this? So I went to my friend and I asked her about it, and she's like, here's some of your resources, here's some of your other resources. Some are cheaper, some are expensive, some you can make, some you have to alter. Here you go. This is the whole world of it. And then she told me about YouTube and everything too, because I was in that era of cosplay where it still wasn't popular per se, but it was popular enough that people were making tutorials and those cosplay music videos years ago for the stuff they liked. So yeah, that's kind of how I got introduced into cosplay. So yeah.
And what was the first outfit or the first cosplay you did?
Ariel.
Fitting.
Yeah. It was a crappy Ariel, but yeah. My first actual costume was Vanellope von Schweetz, though.
That's cool.
Thank you.
I'm trying to remember.
Was that Wreck-It Ralph?
Yep. Yep.
I'm trying to remember what my first one was. It all depends on if you like. I did 2 Halloween costumes that could be considered cosplay, but I didn't know what cosplay was at the time. And the first one I did was a Dane Tribal from Final Fantasy IX, and then the year after that I was Inuyasha.
Ooh, my cousin would have really liked to have seen that. She really likes Inuyasha. And
then once I knew what cosplay was, I think my first cosplay was Natsu Dragneel, bought off of eBay.
Hey, we start somewhere.
One of my first well done cosplays was Final Fantasy as well.
I was never into Final Fantasy, so I know of it, and all the cosplayers, they always look so good, and I'm just like, oh wow, the competition. But I don't look I don't look at cosplay as a competition, so I just look at it as wow, people are really dedicated to their craft.
That's one thing that I've always enjoyed about that we do with this show is we enjoy the art of cosplay. Cosplayers are artists. They are using, their personality, their bodies as a canvas for something that they want to create.
Mhm.
Whether it's everything they're wearing they've made or bought or in some way, shape, or form, they are creating this character for their enjoyment and other people to enjoy.
Mhm.
And we want to showcase that, and not just big names. I mean, there are cosplayers out there who are world famous, and
Mhm.
everybody knows who they are. But there are cosplayers like us who
Mhm.
nobody knows who we are if they don't see us at the same cons over and over again.
Mhm.
And so, giving everyday cosplayers a chance to come out, show off what they can do. We thank you for coming on as Ariel,
Thank
dressing
you.
up. I know you were questioning before the show, but we always encourage, especially with the video format, we encourage every cosplayer to come on in costume if they
Mhm.
wish.
Mhm.
Because that way there it shows off, what, it shows off what you can do. People can see, oh, why did they choose this cosplayer over another one from a convention?
Mhm.
They had more of an impression at the time, and it's not to signal anybody out, that because we have respect for everybody. Um, we know how hard it is to work on costumes. My wife having made costumes, being in, actually, I was in 2 masquerades.
Oh.
The only thing was Anime Boston we didn't walk across the stage, but my wife had made Ginji and Ramaru from an anime called Kakario. I
Yeah.
was wearing 9 tails.
Ooh, wow.
That weighed about 14 pounds.
Oh, wow. God love you. Wow.
In Boston during a windy day. That was fun.
Yeah, sounds like fun.
I was going to say, in Boston on what was likely Easter weekend,
Easter weekend, and
was
it
it
was
in the 40s or was it in the 70s?
uh
Because
mid
we
early mid 60s.
because
Well,
we've seen every extreme with Anime Boston.
and our hotel was not the con hotel. We were about a 5 to 10 minute outdoor walk from hotel to convention site. The looks I got from people walking in this outfit was priceless.
Now,
I know that
the
feeling.
the irony, one of my cosplays, the one that I arguably got the most recognition for, was one that I literally threw together with pieces I already owned, with a cheap wig off of Amazon and the accessories bought literally at Newbury Comics. I think I spent a total of $25.
Mm.
But it was at the peak of the My Little Pony popularity. My friend and I basically did human versions of the 2 main 6 that represented our personalities.
Ooh.
So I was running around doing ridiculous things that I probably shouldn't have been doing because Rainbow Dash.
Of course.
Yep.
And my friend, who is far more introverted, she had a table in the artist alley and she was Rarity. And she actually put a lot more effort into hers. Mine was thrown together literally last minute.
Mm.
And it was something else.
I can just imagine.
Sorry.
And that is what I was wearing when I met my husband, because we met at an anime convention in southern New Hampshire.
Wow.
And he was dressed as one of my favorite Final Fantasy characters.
That's nice. Very nice.
And so and that's how we met. And we will have been together 10 years this fall.
Oh wow, congratulations.
Yes, and I know you have a fun trip that's coming up later this year. So at the end of October, early September, we'll have a couple of weeks that Angela won't be joining us on the show.
Well, I'm overseas. I will not be on air, but I'll still be. But I will have stories to share when I come back.
Oh yeah, that might be a whole special Wednesday night show. We'll do a AZR 18 plus show, and you can just let loose.
Where I regale stories from Europe and the dumb things I found.
Yeah. And for our listeners out there and viewers out there, if you're watching us live, you can find us on most podcast sites now, as it says below the screen here. Angela has been working very hard behind the scenes, editing and uploading all of our shows that we have aired on YouTube thus far. She also has the entire backlog catalog from Blog Talk Radio that needs to be edited and uploaded to the streaming sites as well. So she's got her work cut out.
Work in progress, but there's episodes episodes going up a couple times a week. If on Spotify, other podcast apps, working on getting Apple, but Apple is difficult, but that's its own issues.
So definitely more ways to find and enjoy Anime-Zing Radio out there. So definitely keep enjoying. If you like what you hear, find us on Facebook. Let us know. You can find us at facebook.com/Anime-Zing Radio. If you want to see the shows live and you can see our guests in person, the costumes they wear for the artists, they do sometimes show off the artworks they've been working on and things of that nature, come over to YouTube and watch us live. We're also on Twitch and Facebook Live. So you can come out on any of these platforms Sunday nights, typically 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern. Definitely you want to come on into the chat room, have fun. We love the interaction. When we have questions in the chat room for our guests, we will bring it up on camera and people can see. And Rawson, speaking of the chat room, Ross in the chat says, I've only cosplayed 4 characters and I'm not good at one. Derek Stiles from Trauma Center Video Game 2. I don't know the game, but that's cool that you've cosplayed.
Yeah.
I mean, cosplay's for everybody. And I know we had a fun little chat at Colossal Con about when are we getting your mom to cosplay, Ariel? And you said, oh, she says she's too old for that. You're never too old.
Say that.
No, she said that.
Did she? I didn't hear her say that.
She says she's like, oh no, I'm too old for that. It's like, you're never too old. Nobody's too old.
I'll have to talk to her later then.
In fact, I know there's a cosplayer out there. We've seen it like Anime Boston and a few cons in the Northeast. He goes by the name Cosplay Dad, if I remember right.
Hmm.
And he does the old man from the movie Up with the balloons and everything.
I was gonna say
that's so cute.
I was gonna actually bring that one up.
Mm-hmm.
He is like it's actually spot on, and it is so well done.
I know I saw in the Colossal Con group, there was a whole thread of cosplayers this year. I was quite surprised to see it, because some of the cosplayers I was seeing, I thought they were younger than what they were. But there was this thread of hop in if you're like 50 and over. And I'm like, wow, this is so cool to see that people are at their age and they're still cosplaying like that. Like, when you say cosplay is for everyone, it really is for everyone. That's really cool to see.
Yep. I will say, running around at PAX in my late 30s in costumes, meeting people at like the different cosplay meetups who are I'm literally old enough to be their parent. That was a bit of a head trip.
How do you think I feel? I'm a little older than you are. In Anime Boston, I'm walking around dressed as Kobayashi from Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid. And there are people dressed up from the same show that are more than half my age. And in some cases, I probably would be 25 to 30 years older than them.
Oh, wow.
So I'm just like, I feel very old, but you know what? I still love doing this. And I did realize at Colossal Con East, I don't know how if I can handle multiple nights of staying up late in the water park. Like we did that Saturday night, and Sunday I was a walking zombie.
I don't do the night swim because I can't swim, so I kind of just go back to the hotel around 10 or 11 o'clock at night, and then I call it a night.
We wanted, knowing that Colossal Con was one of those cons that, you know, had a huge water park involvement. We had never been there before. We wanted to experience everything we could in the limited time we had.
Mhm.
So being able to do that, I have no regrets. Granted, I'm still recovering from the lack of sleep, plus a crappy hotel, which we will never stay at that motel again.
Oh yeah, heard all
Uh,
about that one.
yeah.
Yep.
And surprisingly, we ran into another cosplayer at CC on Sunday who was staying at the same motel.
Oh wow, that's nice.
All right.
I know I stayed at the Comfort Inn that was like 5 minutes away, and they were booked up just from the con. Like there was no rooms left. I went down, I think Friday night to go get a coffee, and they literally have like this sign out that said, "No rooms left. We are so sorry for the inconvenience." And I was like, "Oh wow, this is more than last year," because I went last year too, and we weren't. At least I don't think we were. We weren't like fully booked up last year, but this year we definitely were.
And I'm CC. We did have a lot of fun at, and I know that she wants to try to make it back there again next year. We need to really sit down and figure out a convention schedule. And this year was very last minute. We found out 2 weeks before ColossalCon that we got approved as press, so it turned into, oh, I guess we're going to ColossalCon. And it was very crazy to get all that stuff last minute, but still had a good time. And I was very good. I did not overspend on the budget or anything like that. And I know last week when we did the show, because we left at noon last Sunday and drove all the way home. It was a 6-hour drive, and then to do a live show with 2 guests. I hope that I was coherent enough. It felt like it was a good show for as tired as I was.
I know I watched some of the live stream, and it seemed like you were very coherent. However, I haven't finished it yet, but you seemed pretty good to me. I didn't realize that you had driven home earlier that day. If you wouldn't have said it, I wouldn't have even known.
Yeah, I think we didn't. I will say last week we did not go off the rails as much as we have in the past.
But that's boring.
Depending on who the guests are, sometimes the ramblings and the off topic will just go in God only knows which directions.
And that's the beauty of the live shows too, is you don't know what's going to happen, and we are 100% improv. There is no scripts. And we get asked that by when we have voice actors on. Sometimes they'll say, "Oh, do you have a list of questions so we can prepare?" And it's like, unfortunately, we are an improv talk show.
Mhm.
Half the time, I don't know what we're talking about until we hit the go live.
And one of the whole bits about living actually in the city is tiny house means everything is set up in my living room, and husband is sitting on the couch out of frame watching TV with headphones on, and God only knows what the heck is on the screen.
I've been watching the commercials. I saw a Sprite commercial not too long ago. I'm like,
Yep.
hey, I'm fine with that.
It's usually random, and apparently this is an abandoned asylum video.
I was about to say, because I watch a lot of those abandoned videos, so I was like, is he watching someone exploring something?
Yes. It runs the gambit of Twitch streams, Let's Plays, J vloggers, because we both have a love of anime and Japanese culture, and at some point we'll make it back to Japan.
At some point, I'll make it there for the first time.
At some point, you'll get your goddamn passport.
Maybe sooner rather than
calling him out. You'd be calling me out too for it.
She's been on my case all year.
Yeah, no, I've been harassing him about it because of how close he lives to the Canadian border and doesn't have a passport.
And I can't.
Yeah, I think you need a passport at that point, Doug.
Well, I only moved up here a couple years ago, and when I moved up here, I couldn't find my actual birth certificate. So to get the enhanced ID, you need your official. They won't take a copy of your birth certificate. And I never had the funds or the time to contact Boston, since I'm from Massachusetts, about having my birth certificate sent. So it's like, okay, and I haven't had the time to do all of that. And so now it's like, okay, I've lived in New York for 3 years. I can probably figure out ways of getting
that
around
online.
I know it, but still, it was the funds. I came into
Hey,
some unexpected funds recently, so
money
I'm looking
notwithstanding,
into it.
fair.
And I'm not one of those people who likes to ask for money if I don't absolutely have to.
No, I've had a my parents got us passports when we were teenagers, my sister and I, because it was just easier that way to travel to the Caribbean rather than pack up all of our birth certificates and other forms of ID because we were 15 and 17, I think, something like that. And once you have one, getting it renewed is
What has happened there?
very, very easy. And someone's pressing buttons.
I was trying to respond to a comment, and it
I think I know
didn't
what
take.
comment you're talking about too.
I'll do it this way. And
God. Yep.
welcome to this is what our typical shows are. We get derailed by chat. We try to derail each other. Very laid back. We try to keep it as fun as we can for everybody. And I know, and I'm curious, you joined us for our first ever live show when we actually set up to do a 1 hour special from BuchiCon. How does this compare to that for you? Is it a
That
little
was
weirder to be at home, or?
considering I just put my Halloween set up today. Yeah. I just put that up back there. Oh, my fingers. I just put that up back there like 2 hours ago, and I'm realizing I forgot to put the lights on. So, yay. So yeah, the one at PuchiCon was a lot more professional, and I was trying to keep more of a poise because it was my very first podcast that I've ever been on. But I mean, at this point, I I don't really care. So,
Like I said, we try to keep it fun, laid back, and I feel that when we're having fun, the listeners and the viewers can see that, and it's more enjoyable for them as well, especially when with the interaction. So if you're listening to this on one of the podcast sites, come on into the chat room, join us, interact with our guests. We love to see the people come in. We love the interaction. We love to talk with everybody. So definitely join us when we're live, because especially when we have cosplayers on, all the guests we've had on are amazing, amazing people. And really, we thank everybody for taking time out of your busy lives to hang out with us for a couple hours and just talk nonsense.
So, I will say, question. You mentioned figures. I assume you have a bunch of Disney figures. Where do you, where do you get them from? Like, are there specific sites? And also, like, what goes into the choices of which ones to get?
well, I collect Ariel and Snow White. So, primarily for me, if I can find the Kuposkits of the ladies, I will try to get those. And I'll buy those from Hot Topic, or I always make sure I check reviews, but Amazon as well, because you can usually find them cheaper on those kind of websites, depending on, of course, where it's coming from, how you get a hold of it, that kind of thing. I do have my fair share of anime figures. Don't really have too many. I mainly have Todoroki. But I do mainly collect Kuposkits and Funko Pops, and those are usually bought from Amazon and Hot Topics. Sometimes I'll get them from FYE, but usually those two places.
I will be honest, Todoroki's better than Deku.
Yeah. Sorry to my Hero fans. Sorry.
No,
Sorry.
I know. As someone who's completely caught up and looking forward to when My Hero comes back next month, I will actually 100% agree.
Like I like Deku. He's nice, he's cute, and he's sweet. But there's just something about Todoroki. Okay, I've cosplayed him since I was like 16 years old because he was one of my first cosplays after Ariel. So I kind of have that correlation with him, and I literally basically grew up watching the show and then cosplaying him for multiple years on end. Like I just did him. The last time I did him was Halloween last year, actually. So I'm gonna always prefer Todoroki over Deku, but I've cosplayed both, so I mean. I don't really
I didn't actually cosplay from My Hero. I can't. Shortly before pandemic, I thought about doing Momo.
Ooh. You'd make a good Momo.
That being said, time, money,
Mm-hmm.
everything kind of got away from me, and I ended up going with stuff I already owned.
Mm-hmm.
And then COVID happened, and here we are.
And My Hero is not a show that I've even thought about cosplaying from. I lost interest part way through season 4.
That sounds
As
like
I
a new
s-
JoJo's.
yeah.
Yeah.
As I said, Doug, go back and watch the villain arc. I think you'd actually like that arc specifically, and then disregard the rest. As for JoJo, I've heard a lot about it, never actually seen it. Um,
I just watched Stone Ocean, and the only reason why I watched Stone Ocean is because I already liked Joylene. It's kind of confusing for me to explain it, but I watched season 1, 2, and then half of season 3 because I was still in school, and then COVID hit, and then I just kind of dropped it, and then I started looking into the manga, and I somehow got into the Stone Ocean part of the manga, so I completely skipped over Girano and all that, or whatever his name is.
yep.
Don't know how I did that, but I got in where Joylene is, and I'm like, oh, I like her. I'm gonna watch this anime when this comes out. So that was another one that while I was making the bracelets for CCE that I was giving out, I listened to that one as well as Castlevania. So I was like, oh, cool. I like these.
That JoJo is one that I know a lot of people enjoy. The art style, I couldn't watch it because of the art style.
I like the art style of Stone Ocean actually. I'm a
That's
little hypocritical there because I like that one better than the seasons 1, 2, and 3.
I watched Stardust Crusaders. I ended up skipping 1 and 2 by a total accident, but I mean, it was still good enough. I liked it.
I think I got to the point of Stardust Crusaders is with the dog, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I got to like where the dog died, I guess, and then I just never picked it back up.
When Iggy died, that was near the end of that was right before they found Dio.
Oh, okay, so I guess I pretty well watched all of season 3.
Yeah, that was like episode 19 or 20, somewhere in that area. It was like right there toward the end.
Oh, maybe I might as well just finish it at this point.
God.
So.
JoJo is one. That's one of those ones where if you like it, you really like it. If you don't, you don't.
Like I like it, but I have to be in the mood to watch it, and it's very rare when I'm in the mood to watch it.
So. That is fair. Nope. I have ones that I have shows like that.
Yeah, I think we all have shows where it's like if we're in the mood, we'll sit down and binge.
Yep.
Or we won't watch it for months or years.
Or ever again.
That kind of sounds like me where like once a year I usually rewatch Black Butler. I usually disregard season 2 because I have my likes and my dislikes of season 2. But I will sit and watch it in manga order. So I'll do season 1, the first like 15 episodes, and then I'll watch Book of Circus, and I'll watch Book of Murder, and then Book of Atlantic. I believe that's how it all goes. And then if I feel like it, I'll finish the last like 10 episodes of season 1, I think there is, and then I'll watch season 2 if I feel like it, but usually I don't. So I like Eloise, but I can't watch season 2.
I watched most of season 1 of Black Butler until I got to one specific point when you found out about, the tragic accident that took his parents and the date that it happened.
Yep.
December 14th was the day that my father passed away.
Oh gosh, I'm sorry.
When I hit that point in the anime, I haven't watched it since.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
It happened. It happened. 12 years ago that he passed away now. So it's been a while, and but at the time that it was coming in, I wasn't expecting them to say an actual date, and when they did, and it was like, oh crap. And then come around full circle a few years later, we actually had Brina Palencia the voice of CL Phantom Hive, as a guest on the show on December 14th.
Oh, wow. Oh, God love you, Doug. Wow.
I'm like, okay, it's weird how this all worked out. And I think it was short. I think it wasn't long before that I'd actually remembered the sequence of stuff, and I think I brought it up on the show with her. I was like, it's really weird, but really cool at the same time. You know, kind of like a closure of sorts, but I still haven't gone back and watched it.
And that's understandable. So I know, like, it's a hard series to grasp. Like for me, I've read it multiple times. I like the manga more than the anime. I own all the manga. It's kind of yeah. But I've read the entire manga multiple times, so I get that kind of feel like I like you can't pick it back up. I understand that there's certain arcs that when I get to them, I'm like, oh, okay, skip. Let's just go over that like it never happened, that kind of thing. But I get that feeling. So.
Yep.
But all in all, I mean, I enjoyed the series that I saw. And I'm not saying it was a bad series. It's just the timing of it. And at some point, I may go back and finish watching it. Because I know that, you know, the characters were great. The voice acting was great. You know, the storyline was really good. But I also prefer to watch different animes than that most of the time. I get picked on a lot by multiple people because I like the cuter, more wholesome animes. Isekai, slice of life, comedy, harem, goofy stuff. Those are the shows that I would prefer to watch.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all.
Absolutely not.
And there are the times when I find, you know, exceptions to those shows. Things like Overlord. People are like, how do you like Overlord? Like, I thought it was fantastic. It's definitely not my normal taste of anime, but it was fantastic. Call of the Night's another one that wouldn't normally be my taste. Spy Family is another one that's kind of outside of my normal realm. My Dress Up Darling was spot on. It's like, that was one I had to watch just based off of the concept of the anime. I was like, okay, so the synopsis says I need to watch this. And
Dress Up Darling is one that my husband actually had to convince me to watch. I wasn't 100% sold on it. I was more of a, well, all right, I'll watch it. And then I ended up really liking it.
I'm still inching my way into watching that one. I haven't seen it yet, but I do want to watch it. So maybe after the live stream, maybe I'll watch it. I'll leave a comment in the YouTube comments once this is posted on YouTube if I've watched it yet.
My taste in anime is kind of all over the place. I'm very, very picky about comedy. As a whole, like, that's not limited to anime. That's just with everything. I'm very picky about my comedy. I tend to like I tend to like a lot of the darker stuff. I tend to like a lot of the
psychological thriller.
Yep, I do like those. I like the intelligent stuff. And then I have a soft spot for stuff like My Hero. Sword Art Online is one that I actually enjoyed.
Conception you liked?
No. Stop that. Why are we going down? No.
Because we just gotta hear you bitch about it every week.
But like any other media, anime and manga, there's something for almost everybody, regardless of what you like. It's really just a matter of finding it.
Yep. I know with what you said, I also really like the darker ones. I know it's shocking. I'm so into Disney. But yeah, I really, really like vampire animes. I'm that sucker, like, say, for instance, a good example of, oh, hey, my two favorite genres colliding is Visual Prison. It's a vampire anime, and it's an idol anime. I absolutely love that one. I have watched that one so many times. I could tell you literally everything from front to back to front. It's bad. I do have plans to cosplay from it, but because of how elaborate they are, because the anime is based off of the visual kei music style. Their outfits are so boom in your face, that kind of thing. It's that kind of anime where it's like, oh, okay. But that's the best one that I can say, hey, this is what I like. But I like the vampire ones, obviously. I don't know what a good example of that would be. Probably Case Study of Vanitas. I really like that one. And then I like historical ones like, let's see, Black Butler's one that I mentioned earlier, Moriarty the Patriarch.
Yes! Moriarty the Patriarch.
Yes!
Amazing.
I don't see a lot of people like appreciate that one. And I'm like, how could you not?
Ditto. Oh my god, that one was so good.
I mean, my mom literally sent me the other night because somebody's already planning on having a Moriarty panel next year at CCE, and my mom's like, Ariel, do you want to do this? And I'm like, I don't have anything to cosplay from it. But my mom knows me that well to be like, hey, here's one that I know you like. Look into it.
Moriarty was so good.
Oh yeah, I have watched that one too many times now. Most of my anime that I watch them over and over and over again because I'm that person that just gets hyper fixated on one anime for a very specific amount of time and then that's it. Other animes that I like more down the historical route, Heaven Official's Blessing, Grandmaster Demonic Cultivation. They have the novels too. They're not necessarily animes, but I really like those, and I was with those fandoms when they first started, like for the anime format. And I remember reading the books well before they were even published. So when they were still like fan translations. So yeah, those are some that I really like myself. So darker, vampire, historical. I'm semi well-rounded, and then I like my fair share of idle games. I play those rhythm games all the
time. Going into the historical, do you like mythological too or no?
It depends. It honestly depends. Like I will try it out. There's one that I'm looking at on Netflix, not necessarily if it's an anime or not, but I'm assuming it's by the same animation studio as Castlevania, but it's like with Greek gods and mythology, and I kind of want to watch it, but I haven't watched it yet. But I will watch mythological if it's interesting enough for me, yeah.
Okay. The reason I ask is because Angela, don't say anything. Doug,
okay.
Doug, I think you know where I'm going with this one.
I don't know where you're going with this. And
I do know where he's going with this, and I'm not saying a word.
Okay. Bear with me, but go look up High School DxD only because of the stuff it goes into.
I won't watch that one. Sorry.
You're not watching that one?
I will not watch that one. I'm sorry.
Oh, come on.
I'm sorry. I don't like that kind of anime. I have heard of that one. That one in Rosario Vampire, I don't like. I'm sorry.
Oh, Doug. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Doug. I like your shirt that you wear at the con, but I can't watch that anime. I have a bad experience with high school and signing out a manga that I technically was not supposed to sign out for Rosario Vampire. So that's why I won't watch it.
The anime was really good, and one reason that Rosario stayed as in the top spot of top 5 favorite animes, it was number 1 for years, was it was the anime I found when my first marriage was falling apart. Oh. And it helped me get through a messy divorce. That opened the doorway to, or reopened the doorway to the anime world. It was Rosario, Strike Witches, Girls Bravo, and a few others that were on Netflix at the time that, I was able to get into, focus on. And so they had a special meaning to me. And, so that's one reason that I really enjoyed Rosario Vampire. And even going back, I've seen the series multiple times. I've met many of the voice actors from the show. In fact, I think Mocha is the only main character we have not had on Anime-Zing Radio yet.
Oh, wow.
We've interviewed the English voice actor of Skune, Yukari, Mizure, Kurumi, the Bat, the cousin,
Mr. Ko.
Yeah, Mr. Ko, the Bat. Jerry Jewell was on the guest on the show in the past.
Did you have Cocoa?
I don't think we had Cocoa, but I do know we had Ruby. So we had a lot of the cast as guests on the show throughout the years. And it wasn't until Kineticon 2021 when I met Alexis Tipton that I was finally able to say I at least met a voice of Mocha, but still haven't interviewed. And Mocha's got 2 voice actors. depending on whether she's white hair or pink hair.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. See, I never knew her name, but I'm assuming that's the main character.
That's the main vampire.
Yep. I don't know anything about that one. I just know that, it wasn't appropriate at the time when I was younger. So I just kind of never picked it up again.
See, I didn't get introduced to anime and manga I got introduced to it in the 90s, and then lost touch with the one person who had a bunch of it, because we went our separate ways for college, and then didn't really get back into it until another 10 years later. And over the time period, it's like stuff became so much easier to get. And then once we get into the streaming era, it's like there's so much available that when I was finishing high school and starting college, you could not get that much. Simulcasting didn't exist.
Most of my anime, when I was getting Rosario Vampire days, it was see what you could find on eBay that looked appealing and buy it off of there. So a lot of my Inuyasha stuff was eBay bought, whether it was the figures or the bootleg DVDs where somebody just sat there and burned every episode in Japanese onto a DVD and then sold it on eBay for $20. And you're like, okay, and naive kid, I'll get it. It worked for what I wanted it for.
My best friend from high school worked at a Suncoast, and subsequently she could import stuff for the store and then buy it using employee discount. So whenever she would order, she was a key holder at various points and would import a bunch of anime stuff and she would actually do the research to figure out what would sell, and then would tack on stuff that she knew she was going to buy anyway.
Oh, that's smart. Very smart.
And
I have a friend that does that too.
And in the 90s, that was pretty much the only way you could get some of that stuff.
I know for me, when I got into anime, I was 7th grade, I want to say. So I was 13 at the time. So 2014, I believe. I was in my...
That's right around the time I got into it. Was 2012, 2013.
Yep. I was in my my school library. Well, I mean, I live in the middle of nowhere. So my school library had this whole row of manga. I don't know if anyone's heard of Plus Anima.
Rings a bell, never.
Basically, it's humanoid animal people in a way. I can't remember it anymore now because both my boyfriend and I, we really like that manga. It's one that was sold by Scholastic when Scholastic still did manga themselves. I happened to find it in the row because one of my older classmates liked reading the manga. So we had that. We had some volumes of Naruto, and then we had Rosario Vampire. I chose the Plus Anima because, hey, it's a little crow boy. I'm going to read it. And I kid you not when I say I read that thing 20 times straight in a row. The whole series, the 10 books. Not even joking. So then, I come home. At the time when I had a tablet, I'm looking it up, and I'm like, oh, this is cool. And then that's kind of how I went down the rabbit hole of anime and whatnot. But yeah, I've been here for a while, just kind of got out of it. And then I went back in all of a sudden, so yeah.
No, I have for me it was more of the anime I would get introduced to is what everybody else wanted to watch. So when it was time for me to pick stuff that I wanted to watch, it was really hard because it's well, I don't know.
Yep. I feel that because I got back into anime when Voltron of all things was popular. So I have a lot of Voltron stuff that, I still like the show, so I'm not going to get rid of it, but I have a lot of Voltron stuff from when it was popular. Used to cosplay Keith and Lance for a very long time. My mom could definitely tell you the amount of times she came home to me dressed up as Keith. It was quite interesting. But when it was time for Voltron to end and me to get into another show, I'm like, what do I watch? So then I went to My Hero, And then I ended up falling out of My Hero, and then I'm like, okay, what do I watch now? So my bright idea mind thought, oh, I like vampires. Let's see if there's vampire animes. So that's kind of how I ended up where I am now.
I started with my friend. I was able to drive to school at the time, and he wasn't because his dad hadn't let him get his license yet. So he was like 5 minutes down the road from my house. So I'd pick him up, and we'd go to school together, and then we'd go back to his house to drop him off, and then every now and then hang out with him afterwards. And that was when anime was starting to pop up on Netflix.
Oh,
So 2012, 2013 era. And he would show me various shows that he was watching. And then eventually, after doing some digging around, found the shows that I was interested in. We would share titles from time to time. Then he kind of fell off of it, and I never did.
that makes sense.
And Chrome Shelled Regios was the very first one that I ever watched. Once I knew what anime was, I knew what Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, all that stuff was. So I grew up with it, and if I remember correctly, I would read the Yu-Gi-Oh manga because the manga is quite different than the anime. While in the public library, and I think we had a couple volumes in the school. And I know there was a couple volumes of the Pokemon manga as well. And yeah, it just kind of went from there. My original intent when starting was to basically watch everything that Funimation had to offer at the time. And then they just kept expanding their catalogs. High School DxD got me into the social media part of it. I found one of the, back when Facebook was still fairly relevant, they had a lot of fan pages for various shows. I got involved with the group and started doing a lot of social media work because they had the largest page for that at the time. And that's when I became a seasonal watcher because we would create various pages and run them every season when new shows came out. And then once the official companies, Crunchyroll, Funimation, all of them started getting involved, we got too many DMCA takedowns, and it just was no longer worth it anymore. And that's how I met Doug.
Yeah, well, there you go. That you got a positive experience out of that.
Yep, because he happened to reach out to one of the pages that I was a part of.
Yeah, I know we were talking before the show about one of the most listened to podcasts is the history of Anime-Zing Radio, which I think a lot of people who are new to the show is curious about, our backgrounds and, why we wanted to do a show like this. And really the history of AZR stems from my years of doing paranormal talk radio, as odd as it sounds, jumping from paranormal talk to anime talk. I was a co-host on a show. It was a Wednesday night show. The Sunday before the show, our guest had a family emergency and had to cancel. On a whim, I sent a Facebook message to a very popular, well-known voice actress at the time about who I was, what was going on, and if she'd like to be a guest on our show. I got the email from our booking producer that at 1 p.m. on Wednesday that everything was all set for an 8 p.m. show. Wow. I didn't get out of work until 6, got home at 6:30, had about an hour to an hour and a half to promote Jeremy Lee coming on our show. And one of the Facebook pages we reached out to was High School of Anime Lovers, which Darren worked with. And that's how he found out about me and found out about the show. And they agreed to allow us to promote the show. We ended up, the only time in Crossing the Void Radio's history, we crashed the chat room. And wow. we had listeners from all over the world. One person was like, it's 4 a.m. where I'm at, but I had to stay up so I could listen.
Aw, that's nice.
And Jeremy was like, I could probably only stay on for like half hour, 45 minutes because I'm, signing papers on a new apartment and then packing to go to Anime Boston 2 days later, and she ended up on with us for almost 2 hours until her cell phone died.
Wow.
She is an absolute sweetheart. If you ever have a chance to see her at a convention, definitely go up, say hi to her. She's done so many fantastic roles, and she's even been in movies and things like that. Now, very talented actress.
I'll have to look it up. Yeah.
And Ross in the chat says, "Found you guys on Spotify. I'm now following." Thank you very much, Ross. And anybody out there, if you're on Spotify, you want to listen to us after the fact, follow us on Spotify. Follow us anywhere you can find us on the podcast streaming sites. I know Angela's working very hard to try to get us up on all of them. There's just so many out there. It's tough to keep up.
Yep.
I think Amazon started podcasts now. I saw that earlier today when I was on.
I think I got us on Amazon. I could be mistaken on that one.
But definitely
I will check.
And if you like what you hear and you want to support the show, we do have a Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/Anime-Zing Radio. And we do have a few tiers there. We do thank the people who have supported us this far. A lot of love goes out to you guys. And definitely all the funds that come in through Patreon are going to help us to upgrade our equipment. Plus, we have a huge, huge thing we're doing in 2023. And anybody who wants to help with that, you know, it'd be greatly appreciated. A lot of funds I think we're saving to go into that. And that is going to be bringing a voice actress to a little-known con up in Vermont, courtesy of Anime-Zing Radio. So we are excited about that. Everything is in the works. The voice actor has already confirmed that they are going to be a part of it. We're working with the convention, so we don't want to say too much, but it is something that's in the works. If you want to be a part of it, if you want to help us out, go to patreon.com, search Anime-Zing Radio, donate anything that you would like to donate to help us keep going with this, because this is a self-funded show, and especially with the rising cost of everything, any little bit helps, and we really do appreciate all of you who have supported us throughout these last 8.5 years. Everybody who's stuck with us from day one to the new people who join us every week. We appreciate the fans that we have been gaining from doing the show. It's been a lot of fun. And one thing that I had noticed coming out of the Colossal Con Facebook page, a lot of people were griping that there wasn't much variety when they were going through Artist Alley and the Dealer's Hall. And I know that you said you had found some good deals going through the markets and things of that nature. But were you amongst them along the same lines of thinking of a lot of people where there was too much of certain...
Yeah.
Like it was an overabundance of certain show/game content as opposed to a nice mix?
Yep. I mean, I play the game. So, and no hate to anyone that likes the game, because I like it myself, but there was a lot of Genshin this year. A lot.
But you're
going to see that at like any con now.
Unfortunately, I think that's Genshin's going to be a permanent fixture, I think, for the next few years, especially given that
they have an anime coming out.
I know.
I don't play. It feels like Genshin basically is to the con scene what League of Legends was 5, 6, 7 years ago. It feels like the exact same phenomenon.
Yep. Because I noticed that like starting cons up again in 2021, it was so much different from 2019. Like when I went to ZykoCon 2019, it was all My Hero Academia. You couldn't turn a corner and not see a My Hero cosplayer. And now it's like, for instance, we were walking in the Artist Alley, my mom and I stopped at a booth. They had very small little Twisted Wonderland. I mean, probably like this much of merchandise, it just twist. The rest was Genshin, and I looked in front of me, and I'm like, Mom, there's a Kaya cosplayer. And she's like, oh, yeah, there is a Kaya cosplayer. And then we turned, and we were like, oh, there's another one from Genshin. I don't know who it was, but I mainly only know, like, the main ones, because I got to a certain point, and then I just dropped the game. I do like the game. I like the art style, but the playing... My boyfriend likes that more than I do, so I couldn't tell you how to play the game if I was even asked.
I put about an hour and a half into the game, and most of that was because we've had Genshin voice actors on the show, and I wanted to have some knowledge and not sound like a complete and total idiot.
Yep.
when talking about it. So it's like I need a little
Whereas
bit of knowledge.
whereas I've seen enough and heard enough where I knew I wouldn't, and the game is not my kind of game, so I didn't bother.
See, I like the game. I like the mechanism of you could just run around and collect items. I think that's cool. And then if you feel like it, you can fight the enemies. You don't necessarily have to. So I like that whole thing. But I'm more so like the story arc. But because I'm stuck on AR 25, because I don't know how to get past the Ascension rank, I can't get any farther in the story. So I just watch it on YouTube now.
Yep. Actually, changing the subject, we've got Ross has a question for you. If you're into vampire anime, what's your thoughts on Devil is a Part-Timer?
Never heard of it. Sorry.
That's another anime.
I'll have to look into it.
Because I believe that one season 2 either just finished.
It's just finished.
Yeah.
They're currently still dubbing it, but it is done in Japanese, and it took about 8 years between season 1 and season 2.
Wow.
Yep.
That sounds like Cardcaptor Sakura in a way, because my younger cousin likes that anime. And then I saw where it was like older, and now all of a sudden they're making another season for it.
Yeah, they made a clear card not that long ago after a long hiatus on that. And like I loved the original Devil is a Part-Timer so much we actually did a special on the show. We had 4 voice actors. Like 4 of the main cast, including Josh Greeley, who was Satan, Anthony Bowling, who was Asiel, his right-hand man, Tia Ballard, who was Chiho, I think it was Felicia Angel, who was Amelia the Hero. We're all on the show to talk about it. And all of them, and especially Anthony and Josh Greeley, both are like, we need a second season, and because they absolutely love doing it. So when the second season got announced, we actually had Anthony Bowling on the show shortly after that, and he was like, yeah, we were Josh and I were tabling beside each other at a con, like right after it was announced, and the whole con we're looking at each other like, it's getting a dub, we're getting another season. It's really excited. So to be able to hear that, how excited the voice actors who worked on the show were. It's a cute show, slice of life. It's what you would call a reverse isekai, and I think the reason it took so long for it to get a dub or to get a second season is because it came out before the isekai hype train. And the reason it's a reverse isekai is Satan and Asiel and Amelia the Hero get pulled from another dimension to Tokyo, as opposed to going from being on Earth and transported to another world.
Ooh,
so it's done, kind of done in reverse. And you go and you take the powerful Satan and you put him into a slum where he's forced to get a job, and he ends up working at basically a McDonald's fast food restaurant.
But that actually sounds interesting. I'll have to definitely look into it.
It's a fun anime. It's cute. Not up Angie's alley, but
no.
But I've enjoyed it. Season 2, we got to catch up on. Fell behind because of traveling and things like that. It's been a busy last few weeks, but I'm not sure how to feel about season 2 in all honesty with the addition. But it was great to see it come back. And I'm not saying that it's bad in any way, shape, or form. It's just trying to adapt to everything coming back, and then adding the addition of some new characters and some plot twists that have come in that really, I think, have turned it more interesting than it started out being.
Sounds interesting.
So I don't want to give anything away.
Nah, you're fine. You're fine.
That's just my opinion on it. I mean, there's a lot of sequels out there that's like, the first season was good, the second season, and now it's getting a third season. Not Devil is a Part-Timer. It's a different show.
There's a lot of
Rent a Girlfriend's getting a third season.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my.
And Girlfriend is getting a second, which is a total waste in my opinion.
Hey, I mean, whatever.
That one was kind of annoying. I'm not gonna lie. Girlfriend.
Never heard of it. Sorry.
The-
I mean, I'm decently well versed with isekai, but literally the only isekai that I know backhand is that one, Twisted Wonderland, because it's you literally get isekai'd right into Night Raven College. So I know that one like the back of my hand. It's bad.
I'm sure you've heard of like Zombieland Saga.
Yep, I've heard of it. I never watched it, but I've heard of it. I think my boyfriend watched it.
The opening scene is like in one of those iconic scenes in isekai anime where the girl, it's the first day of school, I'm excited, runs out the front door, gets hit by a truck.
Oh,
and they
wow.
do it, but they do it in a theatrical style where you get multiple views of the truck hitting her and her flying through the air. It's not graphic. It's almost done comedically.
Kind of like with Is This a Zombie when he got hit by a truck in the opening scene.
It seems like they really like to hit anime characters with trucks.
It all started with, let's see, Fuka? Yeah, Fuka was the one that started the whole truck thing. And that wasn't even an isekai. That was like 2015, I want to say. And then it was just like everyone's getting hit by a truck now.
Yeah, the birth of Truck-kun.
Yes.
And ironically, I saw a video of somebody who cosplayed as Truck-kun at a convention. And I know
Wonder how many people were lining up in front of him.
I don't know, but it was hysterical because the video that I saw was there's a Twitch streamer that Angela and I both like called Connor or Dog VA.
Oh, I know Connor. I love him.
When he did his panel in the US with Iron Mouse, one of the people who came up to ask a question was basically carrying a big cardboard cutout of the front of Truck-kun. Which even Iron Mouse was like, "Oh my god, it's Truck-kun!" And he got Connor because you know how Connor always likes to put out the jokes about these nuts.
Yep.
Truck-kun got Connor on that.
Hey.
And Connor was so beside himself that he fell for it. He's like, I can't believe it. Iron Mouse laughed her ass off. It was great. If you can find the panel, it was a Q&A panel with the two of them. I forget which convention it was. It was a couple months ago when they were in the U.S. I think it was on the West Coast.
Why can't I remember? It was Anime Expo, probably.
I think it was. That would make sense.
I didn't see much from Anime Expo except for a lot of my mutuals tagging me in the Twisted Wonderland booth.
But no. Speaking of Connor, my husband and I actually have tickets to see Trash Taste live.
Yay!
Next month, so that's gonna be a thing.
Yay!
I am jealous, but there was no way that responsibly and feasibly I could afford to go, especially adding Colossal Con to the docket.
That is fair.
So try to talk to if they have like a meet and greet or something, give them a business card, get them on the show somehow.
I'll see what I can do. No promises.
Well, I know how you like to run your mouth, and if anybody could get them on the show, it would be you, because you would say something to instigate Connor and be like, "Fuck you, I'm in." Yeah.
Granted, I could do that easily by taunting Connor about JoJo, but
you mention JoJo to Connor, he'll be like, "I'm in."
If you mention Genshin to Garnt or Gigic, he would probably be in.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
In fact, what's funny about Genshin to Gigic, we have Griffin Burns coming on the 9th, which is the Sunday after they're in Boston for Trash Taste.
I'll have to watch that one.
Yeah, no, the one in no Trash Taste Boston is October 1st.
Was it the 1st or the 4th?
It's the 1st. Wait a minute. Nope, you are correct. I lied. Nope, the 1st is, wow, I'm mixing up my events. Nope, it is the 4th because the 1st is we're going to see One OK Rock instead.
Oh, have fun!
Because
I wanted to go see them, but I couldn't go.
Nope, my husband said that's what my tickets. His birthday's in October.
Oh,
and
happy birthday to him.
and he says, this is what I want for my birthday. So I said, and you're not going to say no to a concert. He's right. And so that was my birthday present to him is we're going to see that
No.
before we go overseas.
Have fun. I know I wanted to go see 10K Rock and Loveless because I think 10K Rock is in Philly and Loveless was supposed to be in like Pittsburgh, but I couldn't get tickets for either of them and I'm like, maybe next time. Plus it's like a 3-hour drive both ways just to go.
Oh, you are literally in the...
Yeah, I'm in the dead smack middle
Are
of
you?
Pennsylvania.
How far are you, knowing that, how far are you from Scranton?
About 45 minutes.
I've been out there.
Yeah, I'm in the middle of nowhere. Like, for my town, you could drive right through it in a blink of an eye. That's it.
Like I've been to Scranton. I have family in Reading. My mom grew up in Hummelstown. I grew up going to Hershey Park, so I know Pennsylvania pretty well.
Ross, to answer your question, 10K Rock is a Japanese rock band because we found just watching a lot of anime and listening to taking in a lot of Japanese content, we found a lot of Japanese music.
I found 10K Rock from the Rurouni Kenshin live action movies, actually. I love those movies.
That was one my husband found. I'm not sure how, and then sent me links. Here, listen to this.
Yeah, my mother-in-law introduced me to the Kenshin Rurouni because that was her favorite anime growing up. So then she's like, "Oh, Ari, you'd love this movie." So I have seen all of them now.
Yep, and then we've like, yeah, I've seen
a lot.
Yeah, no, yeah. I do a lot of concerts.
My last concert was Asuka at Anime Boston. Because the Masquerade went so long at CCE, we missed out on the concert there.
I did too. I wanted to go see Kazuha again because I saw her last year. I was like, "Oh, Mom, we're gonna go see Kazuha." We never did.
We got a picture of her as she was walking in the hall.
My mom got one last year of her. She really liked her wings. She thought she was Kazuha.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, oh no, that's Kazuha.
No, Asuka was awesome.
I became a fan of Asuka from that concert, and because of anime, I became a fan of Fauna, who does the openings for both season 1 and season 2 of Dragon Maid. And the song that really caught me by surprise was the ending song for Call of the Night. I'm not sure the name of it, but it's by a band called Creepy Nuts.
Sorry.
Oh no! When I saw it, I laughed, but like.
I've seen my fair share of interesting names too because I'm really into visual kei, which the best way I can explain that is Japanese glam rock. That's the best way I can explain that. Not the same, but that's the best way I can explain it for people who don't know what visual kei is. So I've seen my fair share of interesting names.
Actually, knowing that, I'm surprised you don't know. Actually, what was the heck were they before that? Gact and Hyde.
I know who Gact is.
They did. They did a movie called Moonchild.
I've heard of it, never watched it, but I know who.
It is a piece of work.
Well, the only reason why I know who he is because I was really into Vocaloid when I was a kid, and he did Gakubo.
Yep.
And I liked Gakubo because you know, purple-haired samurai dude. He was the weird one, but of course, you know how that is. But if you like 10K Rock, have you ever heard of My First Story?
No.
That's if I remember correctly, it's Taka, his name. That's his younger brother that has that band. I highly recommend them. They're really good.
And I put a link in the private chat to that song that I have been addicted to. So feel free to listen to it after the show. I'll throw the link up in the regular chat for everybody as well to go and check out it. Like I said, it's not my normal type of music, but it's so catchy and it's so good.
And then the other. No, I'm trying to think. I actually went so far on Spotify. I made a playlist that is literally just songs from anime.
Hey, there you go. I've seen a lot of those.
And then every season, depending, I'll try and find the songs I really like and then add to it.
Mm-hmm. For me, I kind of listen to whatever. I'm more into rock music than anything else, but growing up in Pennsylvania, you hear country music a lot, and I somehow got down the Taylor Swift role. Like, I went down that way. I have all of her albums. She was the only country singer I could listen to. So, favorite album is probably Speak Now. Favorite song, Enchanted. By far. Love that song.
As far as Taylor Swift goes, my guilty pleasure song is Shake It Off.
I like that song too. I don't blame you.
That's my guilty pleasure. I'm very much a rock and metal, and being in the Northeast,
Yep.
I also got in college. I got introduced to a lot of European symphonic metal.
Ooh, wow. So do you like Eurovision at all or no?
Never seen it.
Oh, wow. I like to watch it on YouTube, but I never watched the actual live stream. Like, for instance, I found Fairy Tale by Alexander Rybak. That's how I found that song through Eurovision, because he won in 2009.
At one point, everybody was in my apartment because at that point I was the only one that either didn't live in dorms or didn't live with my parents. And one of my friends just basically put a hard drive filled with music, plugged it into my computer, and I just kind of imported the entire thing, figuring, well, I'll just import the entire thing and filter out what I don't like later.
There you go.
And subsequently, I got a lot of things like Nightwish, Within Temptation, Epica, a lot of European symphonic metal, and then started going to concerts and then when I got back into anime, I found a lot of Japanese rock and metal, a good Mongolian, traditional Mongolian throat singing mixed with modern metal.
Ooh, that actually sounds interesting. Wow.
It was amazing, and when I saw them in concert last year, their encore was a cover of Metallica's Sad But True in Chinese.
Ooh. That's interesting. Wow.
I like that. Sounds interesting.
I always like it when like singers and that they like use their native language for music. Like I know, for instance, there's this one singer, Kim Petras. She's German, and even though she doesn't really sing German a lot, she has one song where it's off of her Halloween album, and she just has like a whole verse where it's just in German, and it's like it's so refreshing to see that more and more people are starting to embrace like their native language and all that now.
And then last week, I got lucky enough where I got to see Rammstein perform live.
Ooh.
That was entirely in German. The show was an experience.
Yeah, we were at ColassoCon. She was seeing Rammstein.
And I was working.
But that concert ticket was bought in 2019 for a show that was supposed to take place Labor Day weekend 2020.
And COVID happened.
Yep.
I know that feeling.
Almost every concert I will have been to this year was a direct result of
COVID.
COVID
happened, so it's been rescheduled.
Yep.
In some cases, multiple times.
Yep.
I laugh looking at like the goals that I set back in January for 2022. One of the goals I hit at ColassoCon, saying I wanted to physically attend 10 conventions this year. ColassoCon was number 10.
Yay!
If you count the events that Angela went to that I wasn't at, that would be 11 for PAX East.
Yeah, that was a fun failed experiment, and I figured out what happened. One, the convention center for PAX East the Wi-Fi is garbage.
Oh, yeah. That's what most cons, though.
But my phone does not like StreamYard. And basically he was live from a convention in Vermont, and I was at PAX East, and I tried to jump into the live show, and I couldn't hear anything, and then my internet dropped. It was a disaster, but it was a fun experiment.
But we figured out what was going on. But being able to live stream from cons is a lot of fun. The one that she tried to join in on was our first time live streaming from a table at a convention, and I had the idea, let's live stream for 6 straight hours.
Oh,
Both days.
fun.
And one of the days I was by myself at the table. So it was like, oh my god, I'm not doing 12 hours live from a table again. So we cut it in half and we're like, okay, we'll do 2 or 3 hour sessions, one Saturday, one Sunday, or if we're there Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we'll do 3 hours each day from the con. And Ross in the chat room, hats off to him for that 12-hour live stream. He was there for 11 of the 12 hours.
Wow.
So when I say we have...
He's a regular listener, it seems like, because I remember him from the last one from PoochCon too.
Yeah, he is a loyal listener. I haven't seen Mario talking tonight, but Mario Tanaka is another regular who joins us. Sharka comes in from time to time. KK comes in from time to time. HH comes in from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
People think I don't pay attention, but I keep an eye on who comes in and
No,
out.
and that was a very interesting, like I said, that was an interesting experience. And oddly enough, as we're seeing with the resurgence of conventions, the amount of crossover in the fandoms between anime, video games, tabletop gaming, and even like wrestling fans, it's all converging. And it's like one of the things from PoochieCon, New Jersey, as a intermission, if you will, during the masquerade, like between the performances and while the judges were off deliberating, thank you, there's the word I was looking for, there was a wrestling skit, and it was one of those, and Doug looks at me, why is this a thing? It's like, because it's close enough that enough of the fans, there's enough overlap in the fandoms.
They were at CCE as well.
Oh yeah, I couldn't even get into that panel. I wanted to go in to take pictures for a friend that couldn't make it to CCE, and I kid you not, that line was all the way back to where the flea market was on Sunday. So like they were in events 3, and then you had like say, I know this isn't like what they were, but like events 1, events 2, the market, and then you had the flea market. Like that's how far back it was.
And that's the end. Like that's one thing I'm noticing. It's like there was an anime con a couple years ago where I wasn't originally gonna go. I ended up deciding last minute to show up because I knew enough people there. And then I got bored, and what did I do? I went into a D&D panel because that's my thing.
Yep. My mom and I did that at PoochieCon. We went to a Disney panel. We weren't going to, and then we ended up going in because we were bored and we didn't have anything to do before the masquerade. So we didn't really do a lot at that con like we wanted to, but we also just didn't really know what to do at that con because we were scoping it out. Like I do cons all the time with my mom. I've done cons with her since I started doing cons, so 2019, and I always run the list over with her, and she's like, oh, well, maybe we can do this, or maybe we can do that. We never do it. I think maybe the Disney panel was the only thing we actually did. But it's still cute.
No, and for PAX Unplugged in Philly, 2021, I worked the info booth. And for a lot of people, stuff like that, larger events like that especially, people would come up to the info booth like, where do I start? Because there's literally so much to do. And my advice to those people is always, if you want to paint miniatures, go sign up right now. Otherwise, if that's not your thing, go through the book. What's the one thing you really have to do, or else you'll be upset? And then pick everything else out around that. Because there's so much.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know that feeling because my Friday of CCE, I was packed that day because I had a panel at 9 p.m. So I said to my mom, I said, I want to go to this panel at 2 p.m., which I'll get into why this was a good reason why we went. All Twisted Wonderland that day. That's all I did. But I had a meetup at 6, panel at 9, and then I wanted to go to this other panel at 2 p.m. So my mom went. I'm like, hey, it's an intro to Twisted Wonderland. I talk about it all the time. Let's go. She's like, okay, I'll go with you. I don't care. I know you like it. So my friends were running the panel, and one thing led to another. I somehow ended up on the panelist seat. Not even joking. My friend's coming over to me. He's like, Ariel, do you want to be our Malleus? Because I was cosplaying Malleus that day. Because I was supposed to be Malleus later on. And I'm like, sure. So then I moved all of my stuff up to the panelist seat. And then my mom is like sitting like right across from us. And we have this running joke. And I swear, if my mom's watching this, she's gonna be like, Ariel, I can't believe you said that. Whenever I say Rook, because he's French, she's like, oui. Every time. And that was a hit at the meetup too. But basically what we do is we go through the schedule and we do the same thing. And for me, I'm like, Mom, what do you want to do? She's like, I don't know. So I'm like, okay, I want to do this, and then we can do whatever you want to do. So that's kind of how we do cons.
Yeah, and everyone's got their own way of doing things. Like,
and like you were saying, Andrew, with bigger conventions, like in Anime Boston, I'll sit through, if we don't have press, I'll go through and be like, I want to hit this panel, this panel, this panel, this panel, and figure out, okay, what I want to hit. 9 times out of 10, I'll be lucky. If I've selected 7 panels, I might make 2.
Yep.
Whereas Anime Boston for me is far more of a social con. Whereas for me, it's more of a, okay, I need to find people. And when everybody's either in cosplay or or I'm friends with a number of photographers, and then this year was press, so it was do press stuff, make sure I eat, then go find all of my friends.
Which I had a lot of fun with the press stuff at Anime Boston. I will lie, a big thank you to them for allowing us to have press this year. It took many years of trying before we got in. And hopefully they will allow us to come back as press again next year. We did have a lot of fun. I did see some changes that they had made from previous years to this year that I wish that they would change back. Like moving the artist alley went from 2nd floor to 1st floor. What was a huge dealer's hall. Like, when I say a huge dealer's hall, imagine the dealer's hall at CCE plus the market plus artist alley, include the hallways.
Oh, wow.
that whole length. And I believe that would be the first half of the dealer's hall on the 1st floor, with a divider with bathrooms, phones, things like that, and then equal that space on the other side of that divider. We're talking huge dealer's hall. And then the artist alley probably was half the size of the dealer's hall. They easily could have fit 150 artists in there.
Wow. That's kind of like, that kind of sounds like CCE, where last year they had the artist alley where the dealer's hall was, I want to say, and then the dealer's hall where the artist alley was. So they switched them. So the dealer's hall was huge this year. I mean, I've never seen it that big. Like, I think it was like 4 rows, I want to say, 3 or 4 rows. And I'm like, okay. And then you had the voice actors up against the wall, which they had plenty of space. They were very nice and evenly spaced out. I'm happy that they did that, and they didn't have them right in the doorway like they did last year. I saw that because I saw, I forget who they had last year, but I remember seeing one of the ladies that I know her, but I can't remember. But she was like right in the doorway. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. But CCE this year was on a different level. I loved it this year. Don't get me wrong. I'm always gonna like CCE. That's my favorite con that I go to. I'm definitely going back next year. But I was like very taken back. Like, Sunday was a flea market day. Not even joking. It was just everywhere. So like.
There were a lot of changes. We'll see what happens next year with Anime Boston. Anime Boston's one of the larger New England ones, if not the largest New England one.
Yep. I have a lot of friends that go to that one, so yeah.
I think on pre-COVID years they were like 25 to 30,000 people in the weekend.
I think Anime Boston and Kineticon are arguably the two largest New England anime conventions.
Yep.
Although Kineticon, you could argue is more pop culture than anime.
Oh
Yeah.
Yep.
It almost feels like, because when I first started going to Kineticon, they felt more multi-genre, especially with the guests that they would bring in. Now it feels like they're trying to go more anime with the guests, where they'll bring in 20 big name voice acting guests from the anime world.
I've only been to Kineticon twice. The one time I waited in line for an autograph, it was not for me, it was for a friend, and it was for the voice actor from the Duke Nukem video game series.
And I'm an autograph fiend now because of getting to know these voice actors and talk with them. And now it's like, okay, I kind of want signatures. Plus, I also know that it helps support the voice actors. A lot of people ask, why do they charge for autographs? That's where they make their money. A lot of people don't realize they don't make money if they're not in the booth.
Yep.
So a lot of them have part-time jobs or second full-time jobs or whatnot. And Christy Rothrock, who we've had on the show, works for a radio station, a teacher, and a voice actor.
Wow. Kudos to her.
So, voice acting is more of a labor of love than, hey, I'm getting rich and famous off of this. So a lot of the fans don't think that way. So that's one thing that's been cool about this show is getting to understand the business side of things and learn more about these people, which gives me a more of an appreciation of when I watch it dub. I now know a little bit more of what went into it, who's doing what they thought about, stuff of that nature. And I was laughing. We did our our CC review show on Wednesday, and I laughed when I held up this autograph because I call this my Pennsylvania autograph. Because Aaron Campbell, we got at PoochieCon at the Camelback. About 20 miles away is the Kalahari when we met Kristen McGuire.
Yep. That's the nice thing about the Poconos. The cons are like boom, boom, right next to one another.
So our first two Pennsylvania conventions are at two resorts within like 20 miles from each other. And I get the same print signed by two voice actors who we've had on the show and have enjoyed talking with. It was great to finally get a chance to meet Kristen. Haven't talked with her in years because busy schedule and everything, but hopefully we can get her back on the show again because I think it's been about 7 years since the last time she joined us. Wow. She was still a fresh face in the world of anime voice acting. I think she had less than 5 named roles when we first had her on the show. And so would love to have her back on again. Senko is a great character. Malim, as they were joking around in the chat room about having Darren cosplay as another one of her great characters. And oh my God, we've got like 15 minutes left in the show. This show has flown by.
Oh, I didn't realize it either.
Yep.
I just looked at the clock. I'm like, is it really like 9:43? Oh my God.
Yes, it is.
Wow.
And Ross in the chat room says he's glad that cons for him are done for the year. He's got to save up for, I think you mean Rob Paulson and Todd Habercorn, not Paul Robson, who are going to his area in February. I know this weekend Todd Habercorn was in New Hampshire at Granite State
Comic-Con. Yep.
If I had the money and the energy, I probably would have gone because we know so many people there and I've never been. But after the gauntlet of CC last weekend and then walking about 4 miles up and down a mountain yesterday, I didn't have the energy today to go anywhere.
That makes sense. I know I was working on my Vil cosplay yesterday and I'm like, I got the show later tonight. Let's not do this today.
Now Granite State is one of those, I know way too many people up there. But every year I say I'm going to go up there, and then every year it sneaks up on me and I forget when it is, and then I just never go.
That's why I always keep tabs on different things like within my area. Like, say we have the Bloomsburg Fair that's coming up literally next week and didn't realize that was happening already. And then this place called Knobles, which is an amusement park that's down in Elysburg, that's starting their Halloween event. So I'm like, oh, yay. And for Knobles, they go for my birthday because we do the cosplay stuff, which I'm planning that with a friend, and we're thinking, I mentioned it a lot because it's my favorite thing, but we're thinking of doing a Twisted Wonderland for that. And then I've got Disney at the end of the month, so I'm doing Disney cosplays at Disney because they allow that because Halloween time. And as long as it's not like a based character in the parks, you can get away with going in the park as those characters as long as, you know, you're not letting kids take your picture, that kind of thing. They're weird about that. So I feel the like hustle of everything just like kind of going all right in one way. I'm like, why now?
and then once you get past that, it's Thanksgiving and Christmas and
then everything slows down and you're like, wait, where did the year go?
I think that's what I'm looking forward to the most this year, and I hate to say it, is our holiday break that we take. Every year for the show, we take 2 Sundays off back to back between around Christmas and New Year's, just to give everybody a chance to celebrate the holidays with friends, family, give us a chance to, you know, recharge our batteries, re-energize ourselves.
especially when Christmas Day and New Year's Day this holiday season both fall on Sundays. Yeah, I'm gonna say right now, not happening.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't do it.
No.
No.
So
I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Oh, that's perfectly fine. I usually, right around the holidays, I take 2 weeks off and say we're not doing any live shows for these. And happy holidays. I've got to figure out what the last show of the year is going to be and see if I can find another. So December 18th, I got to try to line up a good guest because every year we try to do a really good voice actor guest for the last show of the year as a way to give thanks to all the listeners and everything. So I gotta get my button gear and try to get some more guests lined up. Next week, we actually have Scree Cosplay is going to be joining us. We'll be talking with them. So back-to-back weeks with awesome cosplayers. Exciting. October 2nd, we don't have a guest lined up just yet. So we are in talks with a few people, see if we can get that lined up. Of course, October 9th is our big show. We have Griffin Burns, who's going to be joining us. I laughed because somebody asked me if I was going to be going to DerpyCon, and I said no. Griffin was announced to be going to DerpyCon as well. If we were going to that, that would be 4 cons this year that we would have been at with him. And I don't want him to think we're stalking him. We're not.
I'm sure that's the least of his problems. Seeing his TikTok, I think that's the least of his problems.
Because we saw him at Anime Boston. We saw him at PoochieCon in New Jersey. And we saw him at CCE. Well, I didn't actually go to his table at CCE, but
I saw him at CCE too. I didn't go to his table either because I didn't come.
I will say at Anime, one of his roles that I am familiar with is from an anime that did not actually get a lot of chatter here, called Platinum End. He was one of the villains.
Ooh, Griffin as a villain. That doesn't pass my mind. Ooh. See, I like him as Tartaglia, which is kind of a villain, but at the end of the day, he's more of a con than anything else. So Griffin as a villain. Ooh, I'll have to look into that.
Ow.
And you were telling Leanne a little bit about it, and he overheard you and had to correct you on something, which was kind of funny.
Yep.
Anime Boston was definitely a lot of good memories, and I have to say that one of the funnest things that I did for Anime Boston with the press side of things was we originally were going to do a panel. It ended up being Robbie Damon, Max Middleman, and Ray Chase. We had signed up for a Ray Chase press interview, but they decided to do all 3 together. So it got moved from Sunday to Friday, so there was a lot of jumping around. But after the panel, they invited all the press members to come up individually and get photos taken with the 3 of them. So I got a couple photos of me with all three of them, which I then showed my wife, who was extremely jealous because she really wanted to meet Ray Chase.
And subsequently, because of all the Anime Boston, I couldn't get Friday off.
Oh.
So I ended up, but I didn't even get into the convention until about 3:30, 4 o'clock.
Yeah, in the afternoon. And by that point in time, the press interviews were done for the day, and the AZR panel was done for the day, because we actually I had a podcasting panel at Anime Boston, which was very nerve wracking, but thank God it was the first panel of the con at 9 a.m. because the room, if it was full, would have had probably close to 400 or 500 people.
Wow.
I maybe had 50.
That's not bad for a panel though at that time in the morning.
On Friday morning. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
And especially where the only time I had done that panel before was BuchiCon, Pennsylvania, and I had, not counting my wife and daughter, 4 people.
I would have been, but I forgot. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's all good.
I'm sorry. I had a lot going on at that con. It was a lot. So.
And Ross in the chat room says, I know we got 10 minutes left. I just want to say that I really, really hope that my favorite anime this season, Parallel World Pharmacy, gets a second season. I feel like it's going to get a cliffhanger. I kind of feel that way too after watching the latest episode that dropped tonight. I think they got one more episode if they're only doing 12. But I could agree with you on that.
I haven't watched that anime, but I feel that with Visual Prison, they kind of left that on a cliffhanger, and I'm like, okay, so we find out about Angie and Gil, and then what? You're just goodbye. Okay, thank you. I want to know what happened. I don't want to spoil it because it is interesting. Like if you sit and watch it, like it's kind of boring the first 2 episodes. I understand it, but it is one of those ones where it's like, oh, this is good, and that's why I like mention it a lot, and I like to constantly rewatch it because you're always finding something new with it, and I'm like, okay, when season 2? When? So yeah.
I think there's a lot of shows out there that I think we all can agree. It's like, okay, left on a cliffhanger. There are some shows I feel that need a second season that will never get it.
Yep.
There are some shows.
Like Prison's one of those.
There are shows that probably should have gone a second season and rushed an ending.
Yep.
World End is one of those shows where it starts off a really good storyline. The world building was pretty good. The characters were fun and enjoyable. They get you wrapped up, and then like the last 2 episodes, they probably could have made at least 6 or 7 more episodes to draw the storyline out longer, or do another 12 to make it a part 1, part 2, or season 1,
that
season
was
2.
One where you can definitely tell they did that was one of the classics, Evangelion.
Oh yeah, I heard where that was rushed at the end, but I never watched that one because it didn't really interest me. But I have friends who watched it.
That is fair. Yeah. We ended up watching the show, and then when the 4th movie came out, we ended up doing all the movies back, like over the course of a couple of weekends. We did the first movie, and then the next night we did the second movie, and then the following weekend we did 3 and 4. And that anime is a head trip.
It sounds like it, because I'm like, oh wow, what is this about? Because like I'll be told what it is, and then they'll start going off on something else. I'm like, wait, this is still the same show?
Yep. But there are some shows like where you can definitely tell. There are some where it's like, okay, that's where it should have ended, and then it just goes off the rails.
Yep. They did that with Black Butler for season 1. It should have ended at episode 15. It didn't.
Gurren Lagann is one. Yep. I watched it much later, not new, so we just kind of watched it all at once over the course of like a month. And there's definitely a certain point where it's like, okay, this went. It should have ended here.
Yep.
Or there's a couple of spots where you could arguably have ended it, and then instead it just went completely off the rails.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I feel that.
And we got about 5 minutes left on the show. Before we run out of time and I forget, we want to give you a chance, Ariel, to promote yourself, any social media, anywhere that people can find you and your cosplay. We call this our shameless plugging section, and the floor is yours.
Well, Instagram and TikTok are Ariel Lynn Cos. I primarily crap post about Twisted Wonderland on TikTok, so if that's something you're into, there you go. My Instagram is again Ariel Lynn Cos. I just finished my first aerial row from CCE, so if that's something you're interested in seeing in, feel free to check that out. I'll have lots of very fun and interesting content coming up very soon on that, like Malleus Draconia, and then I'll have some of my snow cosplays that I made. So yeah, I'll be posting those on Instagram and then TikTok. It is what it is. I post when I feel like it. I have a Facebook page. Don't use it much, but it's just Ariel Lynn, the same way that it's spelled on the screen. And yeah, I don't really use too much social media. I don't know what else to say. So, but yeah, I guess if you like Twisted Wonderland, check out my TikTok. If you like Disney and handmade cosplays, check out my Instagram. So yeah.
And definitely check out her costumes that she's made. They are really, really good.
Thank you.
And, it's very impressive that they're all handmade, no machines or anything like that.
Thank you.
And knowing that you said that you did a lot of embroidery and stuff stuff like that. Helping my wife when she was commissioned to make an Applejack gala dress.
And
having to learn how to hand embroidery apples on the skirt of this thing the night before traveling to a con to try to crunch time to try to get this done. I have a lot of appreciation for people who hand sew because that's not easy.
This is one thing that I did by hand.
That's absolutely awesome.
Thank you. Yep, I did all of the felt sewing by hand, and then I shamelessly glued the ribbon on.
We won't tell anybody.
But
I said we won't tell anybody that.
I wish I had my vest on me that I wore for CCE Masquerade, because that was a big project, but he's put away now because snow. Oh, thank you so much, Ross. I appreciate that. Snow was a very big build for me, and I'm like, oh gosh. So my grandma's saying Ari Lynn. I see her in the comments. Hi, Graham.
And for those of you curious about the cosplay,
yeah, that's the cosplay I made by hand. Obviously there's more detail on my Instagram, so that will be going up soon. Like for instance, all around the vast area, and then the entirety of the inside of the cape sleeves are all done in the same glitter ribbon that is on my belt, but in like reds and blues, of course. But that was all made by hand in approximately a month and a half. I had started it literally 2 weeks after PoochieCon PA ended. So yeah.
So fantastic work there. Again, thank you so much for coming on tonight. It's always fun to chat with you. Hopefully we get to see you at more cons next year.
Yes, hopefully. Yes, I would love to. So.
And we are still planning on working with PoochieCon for when they come back to the Camelback again next year. So hopefully things will work out. It all depends on timing and money, as I think for everybody, how close CCE and PoochieCon are together as to what we can afford to go to, plus the big cons. And we're looking at doing some big things next year. So definitely, again, congratulations on your win at PoochieCon in PA.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Look forward to seeing all the outfits that you continue to produce for future conventions. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. This has been a blast.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Until next week when we have Scree Cosplay joining us, I hope everybody has a wonderful week out there. Probably going to do a Wednesday show. I'm not 100% sure yet of what the topic will be or what we'll do, but probably we'll have a Wednesday show of some sort, even if it's just I know Angela was talking about when are we going to do a fall preview or summer review show. So we may do that on Wednesday. We'll talk and figure it out. But definitely until next Sunday when we have Screen Cosplay joining us, have a wonderful night. Stay safe out there. Keep watching the animes, and we'll see you again right here for more Anime-Zing Radio on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and most streaming platforms.
Good night, everybody.
Bye bye. Have a good night.